I'm now joined by Avery Friedman, a civil rights attorney and law professor in Cleveland, and Richard Herman, a New York criminal defense attorney and law professor, joining us from Las Vegas. And alongside all of us, we are watching live pictures that are streaming in from the pageantry and the ceremonial procedures taking place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, with the President of the United States' arrival there at the Murabba Palace. So, as we talk, gentlemen, we'll also enjoy the images coming out of there live. So let's begin with the basics, shall we, Avery and Richard, on if these attorneys in the orbit of Donald Trump are looking into impeachment procedures, even though the White House is denying that that's even happening. Richard, in your view, what would that mean? What kind of, probing is taking place? What kind of preparations could potentially be made?
Well, Fred, they are investigating. They're doing criminal investigations against Trump and his administration and people around him, and they're also doing civil investigations. But just know that Mueller was hired, Fred, to investigate the relationship between the Russian hacking of the election and Trump's campaign and/or Trump. Mm-hmm. But, with respect to President Clinton, the special prosecutor was hired to look at Whitewater, a company in western Arkansas, and ended up with Monica Lewinsky. So there's broad range of an investigation here. It's going to go, between A and Z. Mueller is a very competent individual, but I will tell you this, Fred, I'm predicting right now, live, Trump will fire Mueller eventually. He will get rid of him because he fears him.
And so, gentlemen, we're talking about this issue while abroad in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. You're seeing in the distance there President Trump and Melania Trump in red. I believe she's wearing red. Have just stepped out of the limousine. They're arriving there at the Murabba Palace, which is quite the opulent structure there, two-story, 7,000 square foot palace there with some 32 rooms where there's quite the celebration for his arrival from the United States there to Saudi Arabia. We heard from the U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson earlier today, really talking about this being a historic embarkment on a renewed relationship between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia. But here stateside, the headlines are being dominated by that cloud over the White House. So, Richard, you're making a pretty dire prediction that you think Donald Trump will at some point remove, and he has the discretion to potentially remove a special prosecutor in the name of Bob Mueller?
Yeah, he can direct the Attorney General or the assistant. He can direct the Attorney General or the Assistant Attorney General to terminate him. He will do that, Fred. I'm telling you, he will do that. In a nutshell, Fred, any articles of impeachment would have to be drawn up in the House of Representatives. It would need a majority vote there, and that would just mean, like an indictment, charges are being brought.
Majority in the
House. Would be tried in the Senate, the Chief Justice would preside, and they would need a two-third majority to get a conviction. Whether charges are brought for obstruction of justice are under the version of high crimes and misdemeanors. Bribery and treason, automatic removal of the president. If he was convicted of obstruction, and we're not sure he would be removed, even if he was convicted of obstruction, Fred, I'm telling you, I've listened to all these talking heads this entire week talk about whether or not the elements are there for obstruction of justice on the termination of Comey. They are there, Fred. There is an obstruction of justice case that could be brought. I've seen brought cases with less evidence in federal courts in New York on obstruction and organized crime cases. Fred, the mental requirement, the intent to do it is evidenced by Trump clearing the room, telling Sessions, Comey's boss, leave, because I need to be alone with him. That in and of itself is consciousness of guilt, and it gives you the level of intent you need for a conviction on this, Fred.
Okay. All right, Richard and Avery, I'm so sorry. We've got a hard break. And as you all are listening, we're listening to your words. And as you're talking, we're kind of seeing, President Trump there kind of moving to the rhythm of the ceremony there in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, as he approaches there, the Murabba Palace. Richard, Avery, thanks so much. Appreciate your insight. So sorry we didn't have a little bit more time to hear more from you. Appreciate it. We'll be right back.